Welcome into another episode of Everything is Logistics, a podcast for the thinkers in freight. I'm your host, Blythe Milligan, and we are proudly presented by SPI Logistics, and we are here live at TMSA Elevate in Austin, Texas. And we're making this the second year in a row where we record immediately after the TMSA is done what our top takeaways are, and we have a fantastic panel of guests with us today. We have Charlie Saffro with CS Recruiting. We have RJ with SPI Logistics. RJ, how do you say your last name? Or Finnegan?
Finnegan.
Jeez, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I heard you pronouncing your
French name, yeah.
How do you say your first name?
We'll keep it kosher, but Lionel Jean-Louis.
Very fancy. I can't repeat it. Yeah.
We need to do that to my name. Class it up a little bit.
And then, of course, we have Anthony with Mohawk Global, and we have a little bit of a different perspective because we have RJ with marketing, we have Anthony with sales, and then we have Charlie with kind of like the entrepreneurial mindset. So let's just start off, Charlie. I'll start with you. What is the top takeaway that you've learned so far at TMSA?
Wow. I would say, okay, I'm going to say two because one is very in my head with the economic trend panel when Lee Klaskow said, I'm a very optimistic person, but I'm not optimistic right now. Something like that. And I feel that. It's a lot of unpredictability, uncertainty. There's a lot of humility in the room where it was just like, we don't know what AI is going to do and what's going to happen. I think the other takeaway is watch out, world, because freight's getting sexy or something. I don't know. I feel like these topics that we discussed here, fraud, environmental sustainability, are topics that usually do not come up in sales and marketing conversations. And whether it's this organization or the creative minds here, but we're spinning it and using fraud protection and environmental awareness to market and sell these services to other companies. So that was a big takeaway. It's not just we can move your freight anymore. It's we can move your freight and these are the other things we can handle or that we care about.
Yeah, that was one of the sessions that they were talking about how your internal marketing is so important in order to create that external experience. And I think for a lot of folks, they're not necessarily sitting in on those operational meetings or sitting in with sales. And so there's a lot of miscommunication and non-alignment. And those are easy wins that we can get in a tough market like this. So RJ, what about you? What were some of the top takeaways that you've learned so far?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably about two things. I think the first one, definitely during the first day, talking about branding, but not branding in a sense just about, how you position your company or how you want your customers to see you. I think at the end of the day, it's really on how sales as well needs to integrate branding into their messaging, and it'll also help closing. So I think it was really cool to kind of, I forget her name, the first keynote speaker, Kate, yeah, when she was breaking down, the why, what, and hows, and the 15 to 30 seconds and really explaining that. And I think even just when you're doing your marketing and you're thinking, hey, I want to have the best message out there to be able to capture my customer's attention, even just keeping it simple at the end of the day works as well. And then the second thing is just when I attended 2 years ago, I feel like now just the way that the marketing tools and the way it's exploded, like you said, it's become sexy now. It's like, a lot of people are integrating different AIs and technologies and things like that into their workflows, and the industry is really evolving as well with technology. And 2 years ago, I couldn't even talk to somebody about a lot of the tools even I use. And then nowadays, everyone's hopping on, which is really awesome as well too, as a big tech guy.
Yeah, it definitely
Awesome
feels
and
like a lot of
scary.
chaos.
Yeah.
It's like I'm trying to manage through all of the chaos with not just what's going on in the freight world, but also with the tools and technology infusion that's coming in. It's really changed every part of my job, I feel like, and I'm sure the same for y'all as well. What about you, Anthony? What are some?
I'm going to take it a little bit of a different direction because that's typically what I do. I agree with both of you. I loved the keynote. I absolutely loved the keynote. I ordered her book off of Amazon 10 minutes into the keynote. I was like, I want more of this. It was just a fantastic way to start the conference. And for me, there's something that I haven't been able to get out of my mind, and I'm gonna say this, and I don't want to get political or anything like that, but when I get here, and I see my friends and people that I've known, and we get together, and we start talking about what we do, and there's so much excitement and pride and happiness. And, you know, we have the first night together, the reception, right? We meet the newcomers. How many newcomers do we have at TMSA? How freaking awesome is that?
30% of the
Right?
attendees, I
How
bet.
cool is
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
right?
Gnarly.
And so we see all this, and there's so much positivity and just like all this great stuff going on. We go through a wonderful first day of events, and it's all these, like, we know the market's tough, right? We know freight hasn't been easy for a long time. And I think we're all used to that. But we talk to each other, and nobody's giving up. Nobody's backing away, right? We're all charging forward ahead. And with this group, one of the things I love about TMSA is the ability to bounce ideas off of each other, and knowing that amongst this group, I have a group of peers to share ideas that are similar situations to me. And I will tell you, my heart is, it still is, but it was so full, right? And then we had an event here at TMSA last night in Austin, Texas, and it was the protest against ICE. And I'm not making a political point. I have my opinion on that, and I don't want to draw any conclusions. Everybody's reasonable minds may disagree, right? And I don't want to get into that. But to see the protest outside and know that there's lives being affected and a lot of things going on and the turmoil in this country, followed up by the economic panel, right? And watching the thunder clouds, right, that are forming both in the industry and let's be honest, in the society with which we live in, which are all deeply connected. This industry is very, there are a lot of people who aren't U.S. citizens who drive trucks, right, who help get product to market every day. And a lot of, so all this is tied together. And I was really, I had a rough afternoon today, maybe a little tiredness, right, and a little bit going on. But you bounce back by this group, knowing that there's a little bit of shelter in the storm with these friends and colleagues. And we're going to be here. We're going to continue to do excellent work for our clients. We're going to continue to deliver. And we're going to get through these things as a team, as a family, as an industry. And there will be bright skies ahead for all of us because we're going to push through this as a society as well. And I appreciate knowing all of you and all the other colleagues and knowing that we're going through similar challenges together. It's a nice experience, right?
Like a weird bonding experience.
It's completely
too.
a bonding, right? There's not a lot of
Trauma
people in my
bonding.
life,
We're
right?
trauma bonding over here.
There's not a lot of people in our day-to-day. I don't know about you, but you know, not a lot of people know exactly what I do on a day-to-day basis. They have a general idea that tariffs don't make it better, right? Like they have a general idea of that. But to be able to sit here with people and talk about what we're doing and what our teams are doing and our people are excelling despite these challenges, our operations teams, our sales professionals, our marketing people, all of us, positive, exciting stories about what's going on despite the thunderclouds, right? You know we're going to get through this. So
Don't underrate that. I mean, in your world too, you're talking about your competitors being part of your circle and your supports, and that I think that is so amazing. You come to an event like this, and it's competitors not commiserating, sharing highs, sharing lows, sharing solutions. Like you just don't see that in a lot of industries.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. With TMSA, I think for a lot of folks that go to a lot of industry conferences, it's the big show, it's the big expo floor, and sometimes that is amazing, but it can also be overwhelming. But then you come to a place like this, it almost feels like your tight-knit community that you can kind of lean on each other and solve these, big problems together. So with all of that said, I would like to move into some of the sessions that you felt were really impactful during your time here. RJ, I'll start with you. What session maybe did you sit in on that really resonated with you?
Yeah, definitely. It was the one I attended today. It was Drop and Hook. Shout out Michelle LeBlanc. Yeah. So I like doing videos, things like that, shorts, reels, all that. What she really broke down was just how each platform really speaks. You have to understand how each platform works, but then also understanding what each platform is pushing because they each drop their own revenue report and they'll say what they are, expecting in order to generate revenue. And as marketers, they'll say, hey, be everywhere, be loud, be seen, but that's not necessarily the case, right? Especially with the target audience. And it's going back to a little bit of basic 101 marketing, but I'm still I was still blown away by, I didn't realize that, you know, Instagram is definitely more community driven and comment based driven. So you'll see a lot of videos will be like, you know, follow my journey for part 2 and things like that, while YouTube is more educational based, right? But also focusing on the long form and more SEO keyword titles. But like, you know, I've chopped up podcasts, I've done videos, and I've posted them all across platforms, and then TikTok won't do so well, Instagram won't do so well, but do really well on YouTube, for example, right? So it's just then understanding the deeper insights of each platform and how can really leverage video messaging so that we're not just creating content for all platforms, we're creating content for specific platforms, but being more specific with that platform in layman's terms. So that was something that really, because I'm a big media nerd, so like something that really hit me hard today. I was like, oh wow, I thought I knew my video, but I leveled up again. So.
And I think it's interesting too that either different content performs so differently on different channels.
Yeah.
One thing will work really well on X, another thing will work really well on YouTube Shorts, and then it'll fall flat on LinkedIn or Instagram.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's tough navigating all of these things, but it's almost like the advice of the old days of like, oh, just pick one platform and get really good at it. You can't really do that anymore. You have to be everywhere, which is kind of annoying, but at the same time, like it's the nature of the world, that digital world that we live in. Charlie, what about you? What kind of session? I mean, you sat in on all the sessions.
I know, I was very present this year. I'm like, oh, my notes. I want to commend the TMSA Educational Committee and Jen, just the way they sequenced the content. Again, I'm sitting in a bit of a different chair as more of an outsider looking in and a partner to the industry. But just the way, like, I don't want to steal your thunder if you want to talk about Kate's session, but Kate DeLeo came in and really just like framed it up, like, what is your 15-second pitch? And I feel like everyone in the room was like, oh, shoot. It's like, I think I know it, but like the way you just explained it, I don't have that down. Then, you know, Robert Bain comes in and talks about his personal brand and all the things that we have access to that we could all do. And then we had the shipper panel. So it was like, oh, now we're actually hearing what our customers want to hear so we can get their attention. And I think like Michael Lynn's story on the panel when he's like, you know, if you call me and I answer and you say, yo, bro, like that's not going to get my freight. So I just love the way it was like layered on. It was like, oh, we all have a problem we didn't really realize we had. Here's one way I can solve it. Here's how our bigger strategy can solve it. And that just like continued through 2 days. So I don't know, my wheels were spinning. I'm selling a very different service, but same approach and
I'm
same
right
strategy.
with you.
Yeah.
I have all of these notes.
Exactly. I'm like, where do I want
That's
to
awesome.
start?
I mean, it's so, and one thing I will point out with the TMSA, unlike other conferences, is that you can catch everything.
Yes.
It's not like a bunch of different talks going on at once where you have to kind of pick and choose. So you can really sit, well, there are breakout sessions that you have to pick and choose naturally, but most of the sessions you can step in on and watch all of them if you want to. Anthony, what about you? Outside of the opening keynote.
No, absolutely.
Which section did
We
you
can all
resonate with?
agree that was fantastic.
It was fantastic.
For me, first of all, I want to say, unlike many other conferences, and even TMSA at times, like Elevate is a fantastic conference. I don't think there was a single session that I didn't enjoy thoroughly this time. Like whatever was in the water here in Austin was really clicking, right? The team did a fantastic job of putting them together. So this is a harder thing to talk about because they all made an impression on me. This is going to sound like probably not where you were going. I enjoyed so much our sponsor vendor like breakout where we walked around.
The scavenger hunt.
Yeah, and talking to them. We had so many high quality, like really cool, businesses. They're my size. Mohawk Global is a mid-sized organization, right, with some really cool challenges and opportunities ahead of us. And to meet these other kind of right-sized players for us or have the ability to scale with us was really exciting. And it always gets my creative juices flowing, almost too much, right? You're like, okay, we can't do everything at once, right?
We're all going to crash, like Jen said.
Right,
it's like our brains are just
absolutely,
going to short circuit tomorrow.
So I really enjoyed that. And then the shipper panel for me is always fantastic. Michael Lynn was hilarious, right? That was just a fantastic situation. And it confirms, it's important because it confirms what I know and what I feel and that sales is challenging, right? We have some wonderful professionals at Mohawk Global that are working their tails off to bring in new clients. And these guys made it fairly clear in such a positive way that it takes a lot of time, right? You've got to build relationship, you've got to add value, you've got to bring something, and you've got to bring your authentic self to the table. I loved them calling out AI messaging, right? Like please, and for everybody out there, please don't ever send me another AI message again. Like it's an automatic trash can, like, you know. And so that's
Or have a bot call me.
Yes.
And try and sell me their service.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Yeah.
Oh, you haven't had that yet? Oh, listen to my voicemail.
Yeah, it's so crazy, right? And so that confirms a lot of Mohawk Global's approach with the market, which is being genuine, being human driven. We work hard on technology, but it's the back end, right? It's to drive efficiency, to drive process, to simplify things for our clients, and so I really enjoyed that shippers panel, and I left like feeling really good about what we're doing as an organization.
To follow up on that with the shippers panel, was there anything that they talked about that you guys aren't doing that you're going to implement when you get back?
Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything, right? And it's been a long couple of days, so it's very likely that there was. I have quite a few notes. I think, you know, one of the things that we have to do, we work on and discuss velocity as a sales organization, right? Pipeline, moving things through the pipeline. I think we've got to do a better job organizationally and again, this is bringing marketing and sales together, right? To make sure that we're having nurturing campaigns that are authentic, that are genuine, right? Maybe incorporating some of the video tools, right? Maybe incorporating some of these other things out there, but that we're talking to people and that we're not losing fact that some of our ideal clients may take 2 or 3 years to close, right? And so I think that's part of the learning lesson. So I think giving it more time and making sure we're committed to, we need to close, and we need to close regularly, right? All of us do. That's how you keep the lights on. That's how you keep the business growing. But making sure that there's an understanding that the time it takes means that if you don't plant the tree today, right, you're not harvesting the fruit for a long time. Right.
There was another part of that discussion that I think is being missed by a lot of companies. It's when they talked about their back office and how you need to be marketing your back office capabilities if you want to take on a new shipper. I thought that was fascinating. And it also opened up the door because one of the other talks was Cassandra Gaines talking about fraud and using your fraud prevention tools as part of your marketing. And I don't think there was one person, Patrick, from ITS Logistics, raised his hand as the only company in the room as marketing their fraud prevention. And that was that to me is like one of those little like home runs that you can implement as soon as you get back. And so for any of y'all, are there any of these tactics or tools that you're not using yet that you can't wait to implement when you get back?
Ooh, I had a little bit of exposure to a couple people who were showing me their AI agent teams, and that like blew my mind in the sense that I was like, this is so exciting and I'm terrified.
Well, how did it break down? What did they?
So, I mean, he was showing me that he has an entire team pretty much assigned for every client, and he names the agents, and here's the director of the agents and the manager, and nothing gets to him that doesn't get past the manager through the director, but they're all prompts and cues and rules and responsibilities. I mean, he was literally showing me how he created a year of content in 12 seconds, and from soup to nuts. Like, here's my ideas, create them, post them, schedule them, find images. So I don't know. I think everyone kind of feels the same way. I think we all know that there's like a moment right now when you either get on the bus or you're going to be left behind. But I would say in back office type of stuff, that was like the one thing that I was, and not specific to this industry, but I feel pretty confident saying there's not a lot of companies in this industry doing anything like that. For the record, he was a marketer, so with an agency. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's super interesting because it's almost like a video game that you're managing these little characters.
Exactly, and he talked about it the way I would be like, oh, you need a new job? You'll talk to Brittany, and then she'll get with Jessica on my team. And he's like, yeah, I got Cleo doing this. And then he passes it to Ingrid, and then she sends it to her manager. But they're agents. They don't exist. It's just wild.
That's interesting. I've tried building an agent, and it took me to do a specific task, but it took me longer to try to build the agent than it would to do the damn task. So I just stopped, and I was like, I'm not ready for this yet.
But for routine, repetitive tasks, right? Like we do a lot of document collection, POD. That was something mentioned in the shipper panel. Bring your POD. Get your POD. For the love of God, I need your POD, right? Like routine, regular document collection, things like that. It's a great area, right? And we're scratching the surface there. I'd say we're a little bit beyond scratching the surface. We've implemented some of that at Mohawk, and it's fantastic. Going back to the fraud panel.
Oh, sorry, that was the original question?
Oh, no.
Oh,
It was,
okay.
No, it was like there was what you could
the
bring
lack of
away.
marketing.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Were you not there? Did you miss? Were you sleeping?
Just now?
Were you? Yeah.
We're
We,
close. We're
yeah.
all close to sleepy
Right.
time.
Yeah. Freight, we all spend an enormous amount of time trying to decommoditize ourselves, right? That is literally our job, right? Is to say that our rice is better than your rice, right? Like, even though it's all kind of the same rice, right? And to miss, for me, to look myself in the eye and realize that we missed something like advertising our fraud prevention, knowing we're going through that, right, was a huge wake-up call. And it's not just for me fraud prevention. It's inventorying everything that we do as an operation. We have some incredible people doing incredible things, and seeing where we can create stories, seeing where we can create points of differentiation for ourselves. And even if it's not a huge differentiator for everybody, making sure we're calling it out so people know that we are there and doing it. So really, really cool part of the conversation.
I love when shippers drop those marketing nuggets of
Yeah.
like, this is what we want to see, and so do more of this. RJ, I want to go back to you about the sort of the AI conversation, because that was one topic that I don't know that we had a singular focus on, which might be the first conference I've seen that didn't have a AI specific talk, but I think that more speaks to AI just infiltrating every part of our lives, where maybe we don't need a dedicated talk on it because it's part of every conversation anyways. I would love to know, like, how are you thinking about AI and using it? I know you've used a little bit of it. How are you implementing it, and how are you thinking about it for the future?
So I think the good thing with AI right now is it speeds up a lot of workflow processes, and you can be really efficient if you have a lot of repetitive tasks that need to be done. I think what I'm trying to gap with AI is creating that authenticity and human interaction like touch, right? And in order to do that, I'm finding you need to have real data. And whether that data is from a form submission, phone call conversations, transcripts, things like that, AI you can train it to essentially do anything you want. You just, like any human, it just comes down to language and being able to convey, okay, this is how a shipper speaks, this is how a broker speaks, this is X, Y, Z. So how can we bridge the gap between speed, but then also quality and authenticity? So I find that's what I've kind of been working on. Like I shouldn't even be saying this, but like a lot of my job is like almost automated, right? Like I have good systems and processes, right? A lot of the marketing tasks, not talking to clients or anything like that or team members, but a lot of my marketing processes I have automated, been able to free up a lot of my time to learn and expand a little bit more in different fields and different tech.
That's what it's for.
AI.
That's what it's for.
Exactly.
Right? So I think that's the next step with AI as people learn and integrate it into their systems. And it's pretty cool that we didn't even have to talk about it this year, because I think last year we talked about it quite a bit, but then now it's just like, it's one of those things that it's just adopted by everybody. They know you have to eventually have it, some form of it. It doesn't have to be, your whole entire model, but you gotta at least sniff it. You gotta at least be aware of it. So that's the way I'm looking at it.
Well, RJ, you're in a very similar place as I was when I was in-house marketing at a 3PL that I think, for a lot of other marketers that are here, where you are essentially the conductor of the orchestra.
Yeah.
And the thing with nowadays is that you can use these tools to help you play all of these instruments instead of, trying to rely on getting the time and the bandwidth to do it yourself. Are there any strategies that you think that more freight companies should be adopting? Because you guys, I mean, I'm biased when I say this, but I love SPI's marketing, the way that they partner with podcasts like this one, and then you are able to take that kind of content and put it on like steroids for us. So, what are you thinking about in the future that more freight companies should be doing?
Oof, that's a good question. I mean, I honestly would like. It's hard. It's hard for me to answer that because I would then have to go into Mohawk Global, see what they're doing, go into CS Recruit, right? See what you're doing to really understand what is happening. But I think for every freight, like I guess freight or logistics company, man, it would really come down to how are you researching, right? AI can save you a lot of time when it comes down to research. Not necessarily personality and picking up the phone call, but even when I was talking to you about researching, what type of content, what are people searching on forums, on Reddit, Quora, things like that. Like the information's out there. How can you get it quickly, and how can you be efficient in order to speak to your target audience, opposed to being a wide fish and a wide net. I'm not saying everybody is doing that, but I think a lot of logistics companies, they would benefit from being able to use the research tools to be able to really hone in on, okay, what are people actually searching for my company? What are people talking about company, right? Your brand is what they say you are, not what you think it is, right? And then being able to really just answer those questions, because I was shocked even just looking at some of the questions on freight broker questions on Quora and Reddit, 4chan, all these random channels, and then I was like, oh, this is a gold landmine, because one, people are looking it up, and then also you position yourself as an authority, right? And as soon as you're the authority position, right, who are you going to believe? Timmy John's shoe company about running, or are you going to believe Nike, right? Position yourself as an authority, and then that's also how you bring in traction and get more customers and your ideal client and all that once you build that relationship.
It's extremely insightful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on the sales side of things, because marketing is, they have obviously an insanely challenging job where they're trying to manage a bunch of things, and they probably got a lot of irons in the pot. What about on the sales side of things? Because you've mentioned, I said on one of the talks with Spark Change Labs,
Yeah.
that they were able to do a live demo with you and get the structure of your sales team versus your marketing team, and how people can improve that communication
session.
gap between them. Yeah, great session. So shout out to Lee and Beth for managing that one. And one of the things I think you said was managing the hunters versus the gatherers, and then getting the marketing team, much more familiar with the roles of each of what the salespeople are doing. Are you implementing that now, or is that something you're going to implement in the future?
We are in the process of segregating. We have segregated our sales and account management. It involved compensation restructuring, which we believe we have done without affecting anybody, right? But the sources of compensation, growth versus retention, right? And we've worked to get some of the people that were maybe doing more farming on the sales side of the role into account management roles where they're absolutely thriving. So that's been an evolution, right? And that's something, I don't think it's particularly unique, right? It's something unique to Mohawk as we go on our growth journey, right? From a regional company to a multinational company. It's something that's had to be done. But at the same time, I think where we have to work harder is to make sure that marketing, and this is one of the number one suggestions that came out of the Spark Lab, and I thought it was really cool. We have an opportunity to make sure that both marketing and sales work together, right, to accomplish a goal. And I think one of the things that we came out of there was, for example, building a target list for marketing and sales to collaborate on jointly, and let some of the creatives from our marketing team, like our sales guys, use some of the same, like cold calling, right? Knocking on doors, right? Emails, they're doing a lot of that stuff. Let our marketing people run wild, right? Maybe they land a hot air balloon at our top prospects, right? Like
Or
that's
an
not
inflatable piece of
yeah,
poop.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. You heard by South by
Inside
Southwest.
joke, inside
yes,
joke.
yes, yeah. You know, that does not represent the Mohawk Global brand standard.
We'll choose a different emoji.
Yes, yeah. The smiley face, only the
Yes.
smiley face. But you know, getting those teams working together and giving marketing some skin in the game and reward, right, for being able to collaborate and gain entry into some of these key clients, and that's transforming our marketing. We have such talented individuals on the team who are chomping at the bit, and maybe just giving them a nudge and pointing them in a different direction will unleash some of that. So that was a really cool idea that came out of that. I think on top of that, just making sure that anything we do from a marketing point of view and a sales point of view, the teams are talking, right? That there's a regular routine communication, that we don't have silos within our commercial division, right? I think that breaking those down is important. I think we do a fairly good job there at Mohawk. There's always room for improvement, though. So
Yeah, there were definitely a lot of tips in that session in particular of aligning.
I can't wait to get the
marketing
notes
sales
from it. Like, yeah, it's really cool.
And one of the notes that somebody suggested that you should involve marketing in your compensation. It's
Yeah.
very similar to sales. And how do you talk about incentivizing marketing? I mean, right now, many marketers are incentivized just to get leads. They don't care about the quality of the leads because they know that they're measured by this specific measurement. But if you involve them in the compensation process, I guarantee they're going to be sitting in on a lot more sales meetings.
Absolutely. If you open the door and we convert the commission, right? I don't think that that's unreasonable, right? There's a momentum change, and I think it's something that needs to be talked about at multiple companies, right? At the end of the day, it's all business development, for sure, right? It's all business development. We're all on the same team. Yeah. And I don't think at Mohawk where there's any adversarial, but we don't necessarily talk to each other as well as we should or could sometimes. Right?
Yeah, because there was one girl that was like, when it came to like the fraud marketing, she's like, I'm not doing this, but the light bulb clicked for me that I should be doing this. And so it's kind of sparking those ideas to work more closely together. I am curious, Charlie, on your side of things, because you're really great at company marketing and also personal branding. How do you sort of think about what data matters to you, what ROI matters to you when you're thinking about your personal brand versus the company brand?
So that almost feels like a trick question.
She asks hard questions.
Right?
Like, seriously.
Because I don't know who wants to hear this, but the majority of the success we get from our branding is when we crack the door open and show who we are as humans and put the data aside. So, with my LinkedIn and the way our company, shows up on LinkedIn, we do try and separate it a little, where I would say we use more of our data from our company. But honestly, what I try and do, a little LinkedIn 101 secret, I'll try to ride off a good post. So 4 weeks ago, I posted a gallon of orange juice and had a story about how I overpaid for it, and I think it has 100,000 views.
Oh my gosh.
Like, dumb. I mean, really dumb. But then the next day, that's when I have all this attention, and people are coming and commenting and coming and checking the comments back to them. That's when I'm gonna post the data I want them to see. That, what I talk about a lot is just, unengagement, disengagement, and what we should be doing as talent leaders for recruiting and retention. So that's where I almost drop the data in. The data does not get their attention. Once I have their attention through a ridiculous strategy, I use the data to kind of, that's really what I'm there for.
Do you keep those posts kind of parked, like the data more focused posts? Do you keep them kind of parked for when a post takes off unexpectedly?
I try, yes, I'm very fluid. I mean, people don't realize, I write those posts every single morning.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I have a library of ideas, but I really keep it fluid and a very good balance. But yeah, I don't think the data brings them. I think it might keep them. But people want humans, and that was another, theme here is, especially with AI, we need humans. We need emotions, we need creativity, we need judgment. And that is really what people want to know about other people before they do business with them. So I think it was Bill on the from Quikrete on the shipper panel. He's like, you want my freight? Crack the door a little bit every time we engage. Like, don't just come and hit me with a sales pitch. So that's the human side of our business.
No, that's really well said, and a great reminder, because I think for a lot of marketers, they try to present data to the executive team, and I don't know, maybe RJ, you've experienced this before. I know I have, when I'm presenting the data, like really good metrics that I know are good metrics, and they have no idea what any of that data means.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like trying to think about the ways to speak to that audience and speak to that executive to get that executive buy-in is presenting them with data that they care about, and you can't make it too complicated.
Exactly.
Otherwise it's just
it's third grade. I mean, like, it's kind of unrelated, but I saw like a meme earlier today that and it was just satire, but it was like, if this is one way to advertise or create a news story. Let's say 100-ton asteroid is going to hit Earth, and that's the headline. Or an asteroid bigger than 100 elephants is going to hit Earth. And the way that we think of that is like, what's 100 tons? I don't even know what that is, but 100 elephants? So it's just dumbing it down. I mean, there are a lot of times I will use AI and be like, explain this to me like I'm a third grader. And that's the easiest way to communicate.
It is.
Yeah, that's a really great example. Anthony, what about you? What kind of maybe data points is your maybe marketing or sales team presenting to you that makes sense to you?
We use a lot of very fundamental, right? We use time and funnel, time like average days lead cycle, right? We look at conversion rates, we look at time, and for me, the challenge is always balancing what the data tells me with what I know our people are really doing. Like, data is, I don't run the business on data. Right, like I can't. I have some really hard-working people that have ups and downs, and have good weeks and bad weeks. So I tend to really look at the totality of everything. So I'm not saying throw it out. It's important to monitor, right? And there's probably areas that we could get better, right? But if you look at my leadership profile, if you take one of those things, I tend to lead by the gut, right? My boss, Mike, great guy. He tends to lead with data, so some of that has to be there, right? And we can kind of come together and have conversations. But I think we're looking at your typical, right, leads, conversion rate, MQL, SQL, right, on down the pipeline. We're not very unique in that area. That's because I'd rather focus my attention. My favorite thing to do is to go out and get with our salespeople and ride out in the cars and go talk to customers, right? And that's what most of our executive team's favorite thing is to do. And that's where you get the real pulse of what's happening. And that's where you see where the real challenges are. And that's where you see where you have opportunities for coaching, development, or where you've got somebody that's just knocking it out of the park, and the business is going to come, right? If they're in a slump, it's going to come. And so that's kind of how we do it. I try not to overcomplicate it.
It's interesting how that feeds right into marketing, because it's, you being out in the field, you are being exposed to problems that may have not come back upstream to you. The shipper problems. That's now part of your intent strategy, and being able to lead with marketing by, focusing on their pain points. And I think that's a hard thing as a leader. The further you get removed from the business, it's like the micro stuff that we need to latch on to for a campaign or whatnot.
Yeah, what are those early wins? Which might be a great question. RJ, what maybe in a lot of the content that you're creating, are those early signals that you're like, this piece of content's gonna really work? Or what data maybe is important to you from a marketing metric standpoint?
So I guess the way I kind of look at data, and then also the way I kind of explain it to people that might be a little bit higher up as well, is I really just look at it as like ego, right? I can say conversions, KPI, bounce rate, all this kind of jazz, and say, yeah, we're at 78%, all this kind of jazz. And yeah, it might seem great, but at the end of the day, it's really about playing the ego and understanding, breaking it down in scenarios that they'll be able to understand. But then also I find one of the easiest ways to also communicate with data is almost when there's success, you're almost communicating it like it's their idea, right? So when we have a really good, a podcast episode and we're getting lots of views and things like that, it wasn't my idea that to sponsor any podcasters or anything like that. That was Mike Mikulik, shout out, my boss, right? But part of the execution though was being able to position it properly in front of the audience, and then looking at, okay, what is the data point, what are the watch time hours, things like that, right? Well, then I'll say, hey, it was a great idea that you sponsored Blythe, and we talked about this XYZ when we talked about our last meeting, right? So then I don't have to say all this like, hey, we had a conversion rate of this, and our watch time was down 20-30%, right? So that's kind of how I present data, especially with those that might not be as technically sound. So ego, and then also trying to frame things more as their idea, because then you're more likely to get buy-in and future yeses when you pitch another idea. So then it's not just like, hey, can I have more money for this? Oh, well, I don't even understand the thing you just told me, right? So
Yeah, I think, and you work so well, I think, with the executive team too, especially like on the finance side of things. And that's something that a lot of marketers just frankly aren't that good at, but you need to be. And I think with the economic times that we sort of live in now and those different challenges, you have to be able to provide some kind of value in a way that makes sense to get that buy-in.
exactly.
All right, last couple questions here, because I know that everybody wants to kind of get out of here. I do have a question, just sort of like overall, like industry associations. What kind of value do you think that industry associations provide in sort of a modern day world?
I'll say I think they all serve different purposes in the sense, and maybe this is one of the reasons we all enjoy this conference and the crowd is no one's trying to close you here or sell you. Well, there were 3 shippers. I'm sure they got bombarded. And then maybe the South by Southwest people. But when you go to other industry conferences, it's very rarely everything. I'm going for education, I'm going for business, I'm going for partnerships. But here I don't sense that that is the focus for anyone. Like they may get business out of this, they may start to build a relationship that turns into something. But I truly feel like this association is to learn, to network, to grow, to build relationships, to make friends. I mean, in a strange way, that is a big part of the business. So I think they all serve a different piece. And for me as a recruiter, it's just as important for me to go and learn about what my clients are doing versus actually way prefer a conference like this than a conference where I just have to be like, exactly right. I have to stay in check. No, I don't want to hard sell anyone when I meet them for the first time. That's not my goal.
Yeah, that's very well said. What about you guys? What kind of, maybe in addition to TMSA, or maybe how TMSA is relevant to other different industry associations that maybe you're a part of?
You first, right?
Yeah, I mean, TMSA is my favorite. Like, it's clearly the place that I come and enjoy and learn and decompress a little bit and have a good time. Where we also tend to get involved are areas in the industry where we can provide thought leadership and demonstrate our thought leadership. So we have quite a few of one of our go-to-market strategies is bringing expertise to our client. We're a flat organization, easy to talk to, right? I'm not trying to sell here, but and that means that our vice president, head of compliance, is active in NCBFAA, right? And is there and is speaking regularly at those events. Rich Roach is on the Federal Maritime Commission, right? Worked to put the rules together or he's not on the actual commission, he's on the advisory board. He's not on the actual commission, although he should be, right? And he worked to put OSRA together, which dealt with the excessive detention and demurrage practices that we've seen, right? And so we do a lot of stuff that enables us to get out there and we bring our if you think about our consulting group, our Mohawk Global Trade Advisors, where we have consultants on trade policy, we bring a lot of people to like trade-oriented events so that they can learn, so that we can build their knowledge, so that we're building the future leaders of tomorrow. From a sales point of view, I'm not a big conference guy, right? Like we go to some, You know, I was talking about this last night with somebody, right? We have some people in our company, we do a lot of furniture business. So we have some people that will go to the furniture show in Vegas, but they're not going to find customers. They're going because they can meet with 20 of our customers at one time, right? And so they go and do that, and they can bring a couple of people out to dinner, and it's just it's a nice, convenient way to do that. Typically, you know, conferences, industry events, the big ones, you know, I tend to get lost in the shuffle with the bigger events and things like that. You know, and then other conferences, we don't go to sell to people. We go to the other Trans-Pacific, the TPM we go to. We have to be there as an NVOCC, right? Our clients are there and we go. But even then, it's all about bringing our clients out to dinner after, right? Things like that.
Well, it's about building relationships
Yeah.
and upskilling, sounds like, so far. Is that very
Yeah.
similar to you, RJ?
Yeah, for sure. I think definitely one of the things TMSA has helped me is when I joined the industry, 2 years ago. Wow, time flies. When I joined it 2 years ago, I knew nothing about logistics. I still don't, right? But I am.
None of us do. That's the secret, just to be clear.
But I am better equipped than I am now, and I can confidently talk about certain things that I would be absolutely zip tight about my first time around. And then also just being part of the committee recognition and being active and getting involved. We got our website rebrand done in my first year at SPI, and one of the ways I was able to do that was one of the committee members, she also had her website done, and she actually shared her numbers with me on the improvements. And that also helped me sell the exec team on getting the website done. We did need it though. It wasn't, you know, we did actually need it, but it was just,
You should have seen it.
Exactly. But it's just one of those things, right? Just of meeting the right people at the right time, but then also like when the newcomers reception, people are like, I've never worked with logistics, right? And then you're just like, okay, you know, I don't have that, what's that term, imposter syndrome, right? Like, you know, here I am, yeah, I can do marketing, but can I do it in logistics? I don't know, right? So I think that's what's been really valuable. It's helped with my knowledge, it's helped with being able to also, an agent, he wanted a service that we just don't offer, and then I've already met 2 or 3 people that are able to do that I can say, hey, I can do an email introduction, you know, and hopefully you guys can connect from there, but I now don't have to say no or something, or hey, no, that's not within our scope, right? So it's really amazing in that sense that you can really almost be the go-to person, not just for your company, but then also anyone else that you build a relationship with and expand your knowledge.
And it's making your profile much more valuable too, not just for yourself and for maybe future, you know, jobs or maybe career endeavors that you would want to pursue, but it's also within the company itself. I think that you're helping them upskill and grow with you as well. And it's kind of crazy how much technology has come into this world and come into this space in particular. And then now what are we talking about? In-person events. And another one I heard was the power of referrals and just asking your best customers and these simple things that maybe a lot of us just forget when we're trying to keep up with all of the different things. So speaking of like all of the different things, kind of last final questions here. What is one thing that you can't wait to do whenever you get home when it comes to marketing or sales with your company?
From this event or just in general?
Just in general. Maybe it's conversations that you had with people here, something you learned in one of the sessions. What's one thing you can't wait to kind of try out whenever you get back?
Yeah, I'll definitely say because we are a freight brokerage and a lot of our main clients are freight agents, I think the big thing is I had no idea that shippers were interested in looking at the fraud and security and panels, things like that. Honestly, I'm a millennial and I was like, oh, white papers are lame. I'm not going to make a white paper, right? Right? But you guys are looking at it, so I should also integrate it on top of the video strategy and the content strategy that we're doing, right? Provide different models of how SPI is fighting fraud and different partners we have to not only strengthen SPI, but then also help our agents as well when shippers go check them out. So I think that's something I'm looking forward to. It's a different challenge. Like, again, I'm not a fraud expert by any means, but it's going to force me to do some research. It's going to force me to ask around and go from there.
Awesome. Oh, what about you, Charlie?
Yeah, I think something we've been struggling with is, we recruit across the entire industry, but what we find is that what our clients use us for the first time becomes their perception of what we do. So if we work with a shipper and fill an inventory manager role, they come to us when they have inventory jobs. When we work with a 3PL, they come to us for freight brokers. And we've started to really have these conversations with our clients and realize our freight brokerages don't even realize we could service their shippers, and the power of those types of introductions. So Kate's speech, the keynote, really resonated with me. I'm going to recap her 3 things, but the 15-second elevator pitch, she just made it so simple. And I think we pound our heads over this, but what do you do? How can you solve my problem? And how are you different? And so that's what I want to go home and actually, I might do it tonight. I might ask ChatGPT. It knows me pretty well, so I might go to my room and figure that out tonight if I'm motivated. But it was just so simple the way she positioned it, and I think a lot of eyes in the room lit up, which is crazy for a room of marketers that knows how to push pain points.
And it's almost like you need to be reminded sometimes. You get so lost maybe in the weeds of everything that's going on that sometimes it's just back to the basics.
Yep.
And
what
with
we
all
do.
aspects of business. What about you, Anthony? What's the thing you're going to do?
Before I jump into that, you mentioned you were on the recognition committee. That awards was spectacular to see what those other companies and especially the rising stars are doing in their organizations. Was really cool to see. So sorry for the little aside there.
I just want to comment, and obviously, as I was reading those nominations, some of the impressions were wild. Some of the
Millions.
social media, millions and millions.
I know.
And just the awareness for the trucking industry
I know.
was very cool.
Really neat.
Yeah,
right?
great job.
Yeah, so I really thought that was cool and very inspirational, right? Just to go back and look at who won awards and why, that's something that we can do, right? And think about that. We already talked about Spark Change Lab. That was really cool, right? We're going to get some ideas out of that. We talked a little bit about going back based on the fraud conversation and really digging into our organization and taking a second look. And I think that this has to be a regular practice, like a quarterly or a 6-month practice to say, what have we started doing as an organization throughout the organization, whether it's in credit and finance, whether it's in operations, customs brokerage, whether it's been in our air freight product, whether it's been in our consulting division. What have we started doing different that we need to shout out? And this is a differentiator, right? So making that a routine part of our process so that when we're doing cool stuff and our organization's building towards the future, that we're also communicating that out into the world, right? So I think finding some sort of schedule for that is important. And then last but not least, I come from a background. I had an old boss whose only comment when funding, a journey to a conference or something like that was whatever you do, take it back, right? And so taking the time, I've got copious amount of notes to share with my teams, my colleagues, my team on the executive team, right? All the cool things I've learned, right? And really share with them so that they feel like they got some of this experience too. And then they do the same thing, when they go to TIA or other things like that, right?
That's super. I haven't actually heard of that, but it makes a ton of sense.
Got to take it back, right? Otherwise, it's just sitting in this old brain, and it doesn't last a long time there, right? It starts to float
that's
away.
ROI. It's just really hard to measure.
Beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. And so much of what we do is non-measurable, but it's important to the business and to the people and to the teams and just the overall development of the organization. So that's something that I'm always excited to do. From a non-conference point of view, I'm really excited to go home and relax.
Yes.
It is a lot. Conferences are a lot. They're draining. It's a lot to prep for. It's a lot to catch up on. But there's certain aspects, I think, that, I can probably speak for all of y'all, that, there are certain things that you're going to take away from this, and it's going to have lasting impact on the work that you do. So thank you.
You do realize it's only Tuesday.
No, right? That's the
craziest thing.
Yeah, that's
we're going to
a
be
week of
back
work,
working before it's even hump day.
Last week, I already had one of those fake Thursdays where it was really Wednesday, and I had one of those last week. So this week is going to be really long.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well,
it's worth it.
Publication time, pub time, promo time. Where can folks follow each of you and connect with each of you?
Follow me on LinkedIn, or you could follow CS Recruiting. We are always looking to talk to job seekers in the industry, but I would say right now, really looking to help companies hire for any professional position.
Yeah, awesome. You can check out our company LinkedIn page, SPI Logistics.
And your website.
Yeah, on our website. There you go. Also, we're quite active on YouTube. If you're looking for any educational type logistics content, that's where you can get in touch and learn.
You can follow me on LinkedIn. You can follow Mohawk Global on LinkedIn to keep up with all the latest news in the industry. And there's been a lot of it specifically regarding tariffs. I think we're really leading the industry there on keeping our clients up to date on tariffs. So if you want to know what's going on there, please log in. We have some other cool stuff coming out. One of the things that I did want to throw out there, video. We have to move into video. And I met some really cool providers, and it's always inspiring to see what you do, Blythe, and your presence online and things like that. And so I always walk away from here saying, this is the time for video. And I think I have a path now, right?
Awesome.
So anyway, LinkedIn's
Just
probably
make sure
the
it's
biggest
actually
place to be.
humans on the video, not AI
Yeah.
generated.
I was going to use claymation.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Someone did show me a video they made that was, it was a person, but it wasn't a real person. They just made them up.
Yeah.
And they're talking and delivering a speech as if they're a human.
I mean,
you wouldn't know.
Well, yeah, because it's getting so good, and how can you do more with less?
Yeah.
And some of these programming, I mean, it works.
And what's important.
Yeah.
When are you going to be hosting the podcast, but it's not you? You're going to be sitting on the beach.
I can't come soon enough.
Right?
No.
It's going to be AI Blythe, and you're going to be on the beach.
No, I wish I could clone myself, but I guess I'm gonna have to do what the AI agents are doing.
Yeah.
Clone certain parts of myself.
She's already on the beach. Her background is fake. What you see on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about
Yeah.
it.
She's actually laying at
Really
the
good
pool.
mics, and you can't hear the wind, and the sand is a little bit of an issue, though, so we'll have to work on that. Thank y'all so much for sticking with
Thank
me.
Yes, thank you.
And I know it's the end of the conference, so thank y'all for tuning in and being a part of the discussion.
For sure.
Thank you for having
Amazing.
us.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was fun.